Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Our guest of today is Lee. He's the head of data at Advanced Infrastructure. And Lee, why don't you tell a little bit more about yourself and what the company is doing?
Hello, nice to meet you, everyone. So my name is Lee. Well, I actually go by Bong. Bong's my name. It's sort of my middle name, and Lee is my surname. Yes, and I work as head of data at Advanced Infrastructure. It's been about 2.5 years now since I started. So I have background in geophysics, and I've been since then working as more of like energy industry, GIS industry, as a developer, and today here I am. So a little bit about the company itself. So we are essentially, I guess, data science company. So
Yeah,
we provide our SaaS platform with very interesting data sets that allows organizations such as local authorities or distribution network operators such as UK Power Network to do their net zero stuff. So very good example of that, I think, is when we had a small project with a small local authority, and they were looking, I guess, they're planning on deploying electric vehicle charging points. And obviously, you can't just ask for money. There's a funding scheme called Levi funding where you can ask for money to do your electric vehicle charging point deployments called EVCP. Now, you can't just go and ask for money for that, right? Like, you have to be it has data backed up, and it has to be like legitimate. And part of our job was then to sort of figure out, okay, so if you need to do that, what are the data sets that you need to be able to see to make a more informed decision as to where the ideal location for the next set of EVCPs to be installed in your local authority? And that is to sort of figure out, what houses have off-street parking, what houses, how many people own cars in that area, and that kind of stuff. And what are the existing EVCPs that are already deployed in your local authorities, for example. So yeah, that's just one of many examples of how we help local authorities. It could even be something like if you have 150,000 buildings in your local authority, how many houses can actually then have solar panels or heat pumps, for example, and how much energy would you be getting out of that or saving, and then how much carbon reduction, therefore, would you expect out of that? Yeah.
amazing. So it's basically going to give these corporations you work with a lot more insight, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you would like what you said before, if you would brief it like really in a couple of sentences, if someone is just watching it and they're like, what is the biggest benefit of advanced infrastructure in comparison to why people would actually use it? Like the biggest benefit.
Okay. We are trying to build all-in-one platform for everyone to do their net zero.
Okay.
That's our biggest goal. We understand that getting to net zero is very, very important. The country is getting hotter and hotter every day, and something needs to be done for us to then sustainably live together with this planet for the future generation as well.
Yeah.
Therefore, net zero, to me at least, is one of the most important things that I want to see being achieved in my lifetime. And we want to sort of help everyone be part of that journey. That will be one sentence. I mean, it wasn't really one sentence, but that would be the reason why everyone would be using our platform in a couple of sentences.
Amazing, man. I love it. Like the way you were talking about, there's also like a deeper mission behind it. And also the way you were speaking
Mm.
about it, a deeper motivation for yourself as well, right? To make the world more sustainable. And are you guys using AI in any way?
No, but we have been thinking about it lately. We do use a bit of ML,
Yeah.
where the electricity network operators released what we call smart meter data,
Yeah.
where you can see the energy consumption of different houses and different households, obviously aggregated because of GDPR reasons, but we can essentially use that to sort of feed that into a machine learning model to then predict what the energy consumption would be for the future for different houses, individual houses. So that's one example of where ML is being used at the moment with our workflow. But we don't actively do that. However, we do have in our pipeline to sort of incorporate LLMs into our platform. Where, for example, as I mentioned, we have a lot of data sets that shows potential, the low carbon technology potential individual house. Now, if we can plug in LLM directly into our database and then have the LLM act as a consultant to then use the data to advise local authorities what you really should be doing in like the next 20 years, 30 years, or even, with limited budget or unlimited budget, wouldn't that be really fun?
Yeah. Sounds
So
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
that's in our pipeline. Although we have a lot of other urgent things that we need to sort out at the moment, so it's not really being worked on. But we definitely want to pick this up at some point.
Yeah, amazing and very important. Like once we're actually once we are in business that we don't want to do everything at the same time, right? Because then like
Yeah.
focus on the most important assets we have. And based on all the people you're actually all these like businesses you're helping out, like what is your ideal customer profile, which has like the most benefit of your service?
So here's one example of why we started this business. And I think this is where I see a lot of organizations, taking a lot of benefits using our platform. So how we started originally is when, for example, a county council or local authority, when they want to do their net zero stuff, and they need a plan, right? It's not just 1 or 2 year you do this and suddenly you have net zero. No, you can't do that. You're
Yeah.
looking at like 10 to 20 years period down the line. And obviously they don't have the expertise within their own sort of team to sort of do that kind of analysis. So what they do is they reach out to consultants. They reach out to environmental servicing, that kind of consultancies out there, and they ask them, they pay a lot of money to these guys and ask them to come up with a report or a plan to do that net zero stuff for the next 10, 20 years. However, these things quite often get outdated quite quickly. So yes, in 2020, you got a report saying you got to be doing this. However, in the next couple of years, things change. Your budget can change. The prices of technologies can change a lot as well. So for example, if you look at PV, the price of individual PV module has gone down significantly because of very good and cheap manufacturing practices done in China, for example. And that's not reflected in the report that was generated 2, 3 years ago. Things have changed. So you now need a new plan. However, then the problem is they have to go again to those consultancies, pay a lot of money again, and then ask them to make a report, which is then again going to go out of date like pretty soon. So that's a problem, right? So even if they create a nice plan to then talk to like electricity suppliers, hey, here's our plan, can you install more substations, for example, to handle that demand? Quite often that can't happen. By the time they reach that sort of conclusion, it's already sort of outdated and you have to now change the plan. So what our goal is to provide a platform where they can actually do this themselves dynamically in real time. You can change the parameters. We will be the ones updating data regularly. All you have to do is use our platform, run the scenarios that you have in mind. You can ask for help. We got loads of people who are like fully understand a lot, I guess, in terms of LEAP, which is, well, if I spell it out, would be local area energy planning, who understands a lot about it, and they can basically use our platform to then reach a conclusion for you, so you can sort of submit that directly to sort of DNOs and other funding applications and things like that. So the benefit you're getting is your ability to run it as many times as possible whenever you want, and being able to change the parameters that suits your needs, because your needs can change anytime. You don't have to wait months and months for consultancies to make a report for you. And it's also cheaper.
That sounds so valuable because it feels like the way you're describing it is going to save so much cooperation, so much time, right? Instead
Yeah,
of trying to
that's
waiting
ultimately our goal.
when things change, you can kind of get like feedback straight away, right? And how long have you been ahead of data for advanced infrastructure?
I initially joined as a GIS developer, and I worked about a year before I got promoted to head of data. So it's been about a year and a half now. Yeah.
Year and a half. And since you
Yeah.
like started a year and a half ago as head of data, like what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced like in this
Oh,
company?
so many, so many. But I can give you one very good example. We used to make our data sets using off-the-shelf tools such as QGIS. So it's a widely used open source GIS tool.
Yeah.
GIS stands for Geographic Information System. However, we went from serving like one local authorities to now about 260 local authorities. And you're talking about going from about, I don't know, 100,000 buildings to millions of buildings. And that's a problem, right? If you're using off-the-shelf product software, for example, these things are not really built to handle that many data sets, that big of a data. So what the biggest challenge that I face with our current approach was, well, then approach was, we can't scale as quickly as we want with this. We need to automate it, right?
Yeah.
So I then took the decision to sort of move everything, to move all of our workflow in generating data from using QGIS to Python. I hired a lot of Python engineers who are very good at doing that, and we moved everything to cloud as well. So now, instead of using your local computer to sort of make for example, PB dataset. Everything is now done on cloud AWS with a click of a button.
Amazing. So you actually like right now it's way more easy to scale.
Oh yes.
Yeah, amazing. And talked on that. That's a huge growth. Actually, you're talking about, right? From like one
Yeah.
to like so much and so many. And what are the ways you are using right now to acquire new customers?
Well, very good question. So this is mainly done by our CEO Christopher and our head of product Lily. So they quite often, well, I guess most of their time is being spent on networking with people. So
Yeah,
so we have a lot of like net zero related events and conferences and things like that. So their job is to sort of reach out to our like prospective clients in those areas and talking to like DNOs that we're not doing currently business with, and also international ones as well, because our ambition is to sort of not why stop at UK if we can sort of allow other European network operators to do all the cool stuff that we're doing as well. So it's mainly done by physically interacting with loads of different people in different conferences,
yeah.
and also through marketing. I guess using simple website, but we have our own website. We get a lot of people coming through from Google searches and things like that. Yes.
Amazing. And have you guys ever like considered something like cold outreach to reach like a different specific kind of customer?
Yeah, I don't know because that's not quite what I do. It's not sort of my field of expertise to answer the question. I know we have a dedicated marketing person who's working on this kind of stuff. It might be better if you talk to
Mm.
that person directly than myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm.
And in the experience you're having as being a head of data, right? In the last like years, like if you go back at the lessons learned, because that's the cool thing about being in business. What you said, there are like many challenges, and then we learn from it, right? And then we implement the
Yeah,
lessons we are learning, and then we are growing.
yeah,
What is one thing out of all the lessons you have learned? Like, what is one thing you would do differently with the knowledge you have right now?
that's a very good question. I would immediately well, the one mistake that I made when I started off is to sort of we worked as a team in a very isolated environment, and quite often when we produce something, we then have to spend a lot of time communicating what we did with other teams, other stakeholders, and that process was actually quite painful because it can be really technical. It can be really difficult to explain why we made that decision at what point. If I can go back in time and basically back to like a year and a half, then the first thing I would do is sort of change the way we work in a from more isolated environment to more open and allowing different people to have opinions and discussions, and putting them into a diagram and things like that to make it really easy for others to understand what we're doing and why we're doing that. Because that would save a lot of time, a lot of the pain that I went through over the past year and a half to basically nothing, I think.
Yeah, makes sense. And I really like this concept as it makes us think in a bit of a different way. And if you had like a magic wand, right? Think about Harry Potter. And with this magic wand, you could fix any challenge in the company right now with just a snap of a fingertip. Like what kind of challenge would you choose with this magic wand?
Oh, okay. Another very good question. I'm really enjoying these questions, by the way. It really makes me think a lot.
Mm.
I think one of the problems that I personally think we have is we scaled up too quick. Like I said, we went from just working with one local authority to now like 200, and a lot of like the data went from like just having maybe a few megabytes worth of data into like gigabytes and even bigger than that. And it's very, very challenging. And if there's one magic one that I can use, I would probably use it to solve all the tech debts we have. Like we have so many, and it's sort of eating up a lot of our time because we have problem A, but to be able to fix problem A, then we have another problem, and to be able to fix that, we have another problem with that. So that process eats up a lot of time, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to do as a company. Like I said, using LLM as a consultant who can
Mm.
directly access our database is a fantastic, cool idea that I really, 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 really want to see happen.
Yeah.
But we can't do that at the moment because of all the challenges that we're technical challenges that we're going through. That is absolutely essential for us to be able to scale up properly.
Yeah.
If there's a magic what if I can be Harry Potter, that would be one thing that I would fix right now immediately.
Amazing. And then from this challenge, like the decision process would go way quicker. And you could move way faster,
Yeah.
right? And if you're looking at the company right now and some of the goals you guys have for the next 6 to 12 months? Like, what kind of goals are you striving towards?
Okay, so 6 to 12 months. I think you're talking about some more immediate goals rather than our long-term overall, what the company should be doing. I think within the 6 months, I really want to see people. We're building this thing called scenario modeler where you can basically change different parameters to see what is the most ideal way to get to your net zero solution, right? And they can change time period. You can be 20, 30 years, whatever. You can also input the amount of money you have. You can also decide how much money you want to spend on specific technologies and things like that. We're sort of working on improving that because the existing model is struggling a little bit with the input. What I really would love to see is our clients actually using our scenario modeling tool that is built perfectly for their needs, so they can actually try different scenarios and come to a conclusion that this looks like a really feasible solution. So let's make a report out of that and let's apply for funding or whatever they need to do to get to net zero. I think I would really love to see that. That would be the next sort of 6 to 12 months goal for me, really.
Very nice.
Personally, and even the company really wants to see that happen. So yes.
You said like those immediate goals, and if you're looking at more long term, like the long term kind of vision, if you're saying for the next,
Okay. So obviously, really, I don't know if the rest of the company would agree with me, but personally, I want to see LLM being used as a sort of like an interface, and then the users don't have to like go look for different functions and features within our SaaS platform, but it would just have one agent that you can directly ask question, hey, I have this problem. Are you able to like, is this something that you can do for me? And then the answer would be yes. Database full of like things that you're looking for. I've got sort of like we have our own model going on that you can sort of change different parameters for it. That probably is my personal sort of aspiration as to what I want to see in the platform. However, the company might have slightly different idea, but I think generally speaking, we want to make the process of getting to net zero as pain-free as possible. So that means adding new features that are needed as it comes through. And it's a lot of so the biggest challenge that another big challenge that we have as a company is that these things are so like new because there are not many people like fully working in terms of like net zero and getting to net zero at least and it's widely unknown what we have to do to get there. What is it like? Do we want to just electrify anything? Even if we do, can we get to net zero realistically? And even is that even realistic to sort of say like we're gonna make every cars like electric vehicle? No, because of so many unknowns in this industry. I guess the company then could be, I guess we can say, we be the pioneer in terms of resolving those unknowns into something more tangible, something that people can agree with. But we're the ones who are setting the standards
yeah,
for people to then follow suit. Like if you want to do net zero, go look at AITL's workflow. Like that's how it's done. That would be like the 2-3 years goal. If I have to like really put it in a very abstract way, it would be that.
very nice, because that means like even though there are a lot of things which are unknown, then your company is a company which gives everyone the clarity. We can do it like this, right? And yeah, man, thanks, man, for sharing all your value about advanced infrastructure, about your own opinion as well. And if people are looking at this podcast right now and they want to find you, they want to connect with you or the company, like what are ways how they can connect with you?
LinkedIn and our official website.
LinkedIn, okay, cool. So I will make sure everyone who's watching, I will make sure to include all that in the description down below. Everyone, thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much. Take care.